We are back out in the garage. And since the Corvette is done, I'm going to work on a different project. On my old XR250 that my son has been riding for several years. He just got a, CR450. So I'm going to start riding the little XR250 just because I think it's a cool bike. First thing I'm going to do is recover the seat, and that's what we're going to do right now. This one's ripped. Before the foam gets bad, we're going to put a new cover on it. So first things first, bolt on each side. We'll get that seat off, get it on the workbench, and strip it down. Little backstory on the XR. We bought it a couple of years ago because we'd had a couple of dirt bikes stolen from the shed here in the backyard. Guys broke in, rode them away. One morning I was at work, so we needed another dirt bike. Picked this XR up cheap because it had a hole in the case. Somebody had, there wasn't anything actually wrong with the motor. They had just wrecked and managed to hit one of the bolts around the clutch basket. They'd hit the end of the bolt on a rock and it took a chunk out of the clutch basket, took a chunk out of the case. Just broke that whole section off with the bolt. So I saw this on Craigslist. It's fairly cheap, got on eBay. They had cases, they had covers, everything. So we went down, bought it, stripped it completely down, rebuilt the engine, put the new cases on. We got a good bike out of it. And I ended up recovering the two stolen bikes. So we ended up with extra bikes. Right now, seat cover, lots of staples. We got to get all the old staples pulled out. For pulling staples, I normally use a pick or a sharp screwdriver. Just get them popped up a little bit. Then I can pull them the rest of the way out with a pair of pliers. Okay, I think I've got all the staples. Now we'll just start peeling that back. Work it off around the hole down there. Oh, missed one. Yeah, an old sharpened flat blade screwdriver really works good for pulling those staples. Alright, the new old cover came off. I'm going to have to Google and see if InStyle's still in business. Because the plant I work at, we make vinyl graphics. And I remember, probably 30 years ago, I was working on a machine that we made the liners that you peel off the graphics. Now we cut a new cylinder to print the InStyle logo on the back. And at that point, I had no idea what InStyle was. Yeah, this was a fairly nice seat cover. Vinyl on the sides and then the fabric down the middle. Now, a hard vinyl on the sides. But just come, well, it actually ripped. Yeah, she's a little rotten. Now, fortunately, except for the little spot there that's worn, where that rip was, foam is in good shape. So I'm going to take a second and clean off the dirt off the bottom of this, and then we'll start fitting the new seat cover on. Now, as far as seat covers, on this one, I'm just going to use a pre-built one. If you've seen any of my sewing videos, I've got the upholstery machine to make them. But Rocky Mountain Motorcycle was selling these Neutron seat covers so cheap. They were on clearance. They were so cheap I couldn't even buy the fabric to build one. So I think all of my bikes, including the KLR, have a Neutron seat cover on them now. All the dirt bikes. They've got a little pocket up in the front. What you want to do is fit that on there in the front. Get that pulled down over your phone. That holds the front. Then you pull it to the back. This one's got the logo. Make sure it's centered. Center everything up. Get it down and around the bottom. Put you a couple of staples down there to hold the bottom. Now, as far as staplers, this is a quality Harbor Freight air stapler. I definitely recommend an air stapler. I used an electric one for a long time. It was marginal at best. This thing, once I tried it, it was just like, oh, why didn't I use one of these all along? And this thing was kind of like the seat covers. It was on clearance. It was like $15, and it just works excellent. As far as staples, use stapling something that's going to be outside, like these seat covers. Use at least a galvanized staple. Otherwise, they'll just rust instantly and look crappy and end up breaking off. If you're doing something high-end or something that's in the water all the time, like a watercraft, I generally get a stainless steel staple. Now, they're a little harder to find. The galvanized, you can just pick them up at Harbor Freight at the same time you get the stapler. Stainless steel ones, McMaster Cars, where I usually get those at the supply house. They have stainless steel staples for pretty much anything you'd want. So now that you've got the front on and the back on, start pulling this middle around. And you're going to end up wanting this seam here pretty much along the edge there. You're also going to have this pulled around the edge. And don't get crazy on the staples yet, because you may end up pulling some of them back out. Now we need to get this side pulled around. And that's where it gets a little tricky, because you're trying to pull that down in the center. So you gotta gather your material around. Well, as you've seen me wrestle around with this, it's just not going well. This seat cover, you got this big dip here in the seat. And this is stretchy material, slightly. So the idea was to pull it around and tighten it down, but it's just got such a dip there that if I was going to build this seat cover, I would do it just like the one we took off. I would cut out a piece through here, and then cut the sides at this angle, sew it right along there, and put it in. I'm going to try one more thing on this. I'm going to try adhesive. I'm going to adhesive coat this, adhesive coat that, and see if we can't get it to lay on there and stay to get it to stapled. Because once you get to riding it, it'll stretch it out even more and form fit it. But I've got to get it good enough to get to the riding stage. If the adhesive doesn't work, probably throw that one in the trash and build my own. So right now I'm going to take some spray adhesive, give it a shot, and then we'll come in and see if we can't get it to lay down. Okay, let's start working this down on there smoothly. Get this center laid down first. Now I've got it pretty much where I want it. Go around and keep snugging it up and putting your staples back in. It's good to tuck your corners and overlap those. Probably have to trim out a little bit around that mount. There's the finished product. For a seat cover that I didn't think was going to fit at all, it didn't come out too bad. I probably should have glued all the way to the top here, but I think that may come out nicely. It tries to pucker just a little across there, but as I ride and set here, it will kind of stretch all this out, and we'll probably pull that down. They always look better after you've rode on them a little while. But that's probably the last Neutron seat cover I'm going to buy. Well, probably the last one I can get since they were discontinued. But this seat definitely would have been better in like 3 different pieces with stitching right along here. So when this one wears out, that's what it's going to get. If you're an X2 guy, I'll be reupholstering, making a custom seat cover for my Kawasaki X2 here shortly before it gets to be boating season. So be watching for that one. Hey, I'm happy. Thing looks good on there. Now tomorrow's project, since this little bike's mine now, I've got DG exhaust coming tomorrow, so we'll get that put on, see how that sounds, see if it's lighter. Should be. Didn't get the new head pipes because, yeah, the head pipes are fine. That'll be the next project on the XR. So if you like XRs, be watching for that. Well, that's all for this video. Seat cover came out okay. Like and subscribe if you want to keep up with this stuff. Thanks for watching.